You thought someone was somebody that they were. You found out something about them that they hadn't disclosed, or that completely changed your view of them. What if it's a mistake? What if I choose the wrong thing? What if I choose the wrong person? What if that wasn't what I should have chosen? What if there's something better? Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Love Chat with the Love Twin, where we're talking about dating safety and your intuition, and how your intuition is actually your power. You know, you can either be driven by fear and then have your fear choosing for you, listening for you, acting, not acting, speaking, not speaking for you, or you can step into your power and start to trust your intuition. And we're going to cover all the stuff about what you think about your intuition and how you might be thinking that it's broken. It's not broken, you just haven't been paying attention to it. And so how do we raise that connection with our intuition so that we're in our power and not in our fear? Anytime that you are acting out of fear, you're going to consistently be second guessing yourself and questioning yourself, or you're stifling yourself because you're not trusting. You're not trusting yourself to see, to hear, to know, to make the right decisions. So one of the things that we hear a lot, specifically around online dating, is like, how do you know if the person is a real person? Now, years and years and years and years and years and years ago, when we started, remember, Horses has been as a business. It was an entity before it was an actual business, around for now almost 17 years. So back in the day, Michelle and I would talk to women who were talking about doing background checks. You know, how do I, should I find out more about him on LinkedIn? LinkedIn was just starting to get traction back then. And we would always speak to the woman and say, well, what's the fear that's driving that question? Because if you're already, and this is, you may or may not agree with what I'm about to say, and I'm just telling you what we tell our clients: consider it. Considering means you actually reflect on it before answering or before jumping to a conclusion for at least 30 seconds. So consider that there is already a fear that has nothing to do with the person whose profile you're looking at, whose bio you're reading. And if you have that question of how do I know if this is a real person, the question doesn't really have to do with that person, meaning the fear is already there. And the fear, here's the part I really want you to consider, is that the fear was there before online dating was a thing, which means there was a time where you believed something to be true, or you trusted someone, or you thought someone was somebody that they were, or you thought they were who they were saying they were. And then something happened and that person was not who they said they were, or you found out something about them that they hadn't disclosed, or that completely, changed your view of them, or you found out they were being dishonest with you, or you feel that you made a mistake in choosing that person or trusting that person as a friend. It doesn't necessarily just have to be dating. This could have happened, most likely it happened when you were a child and you suffered some sort of betrayal or, associated heartache to finding out that somebody wasn't who they said they were, or they did something you didn't expect them to do. And that started the break. And what I mean by the break is like the break in trusting yourself. More than likely, if you're like most of the people that we know and that we work with, you started to make yourself wrong for having made that decision, meaning I should have known. How could I not have seen it? Even if you were a child, even if there was no way that you could have stopped it or known at that point, you didn't have maybe the all the information that you need, or even the skills. More than likely, you made yourself wrong about that. And what starts to happen over the years is every time you make another mistake or another choice where you feel you should have known or seen or done or chosen, then that blame, that guilt, sometimes resentment against yourself, but definitely the mistrust, it starts to get bigger and bigger and stronger. And so then you start to second guess yourself on almost everything. Right? It could be a business decision. It could be where you want to live. It could be what you want to order for lunch. Like, you start to not, I know those seem like very minimal things, but just notice. I did this exercise and I noticed it was all over my life. And I'm grateful for the coach who helped me to see it, right? So the reason I'm talking about this before I start talking about safety in dating, we want you to be smart. We want you to be safe. We want you to be happy in dating and in love. And the fear what I'm pointing to is that the fear itself is not simply coming from dating. More than likely, the fear was already there. The lack of trust was in yourself and other people was already there. And it gets amplified and magnified when it comes to dating because it feels like it's such an important thing, right? It's so important to you, makes you feel vulnerable, right? When it comes to things, make people really vulnerable. Love and money, right? They both have to do with worth, which is part of the what we get to address later on in the session. But the fear that was there before dating, it gets amplified and magnified. And now, if you have made those choices, those decisions in love, right? If you made those mistakes in love, now you've got like that boom, that seal of like affirmation, like, you see, I'm right. Why is that important? Because first of all, you've got to understand that something started the process. Something initiated the self-doubt that you have. And then now we're going to move to dating. But just, I want you to be aware, this is the work that Michelle and I do. This is the type of thing that we help women break through. Because if you break through this lack of trust when it comes to where you're going to live, should you buy this house or the other? Should you rent? Should you own? Should you buy this car or that car? Should you take the job or not? Like, all of these choices that you're faced with all the time, what you're trying, if you think about the last choice that you made, it could have been what to have for lunch. You were worried. What were you worried about? What would have you question? If you said, I want this, what's the thing that you wonder? If I choose this, fill in the blank. Hello, if you're watching this on replay, you get to play too. Okay, you get to put your answer in the chat as well. I can make a mistake. So Mortrice, I think your name is. If you ask yourself, how would it taste? What do you tell yourself if it tastes horrible? Right? Am I safe? All right, so Karen, you have, I won't be happy because it's not real. What if it doesn't work again? These are more like the questions like, what if it's a mistake? What if I choose the wrong thing? What if I choose the wrong person? What if that wasn't what I should have chosen? What if there's something better? When you pay attention to the thoughts that come up, in this case, a moment of choice, you will be more aware of the chatter that's happening in your subconscious. We've quoted this now several times. 80% of the thoughts that you have on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, even when you're sleeping, by the way, are negative. 95% of those are repeatedly being said in your head. They're repetitious, they're recurring thoughts. So if 80% of them are negative and 95% of them are consistently going, do you see how, if you've got fears, if you've got trust issues with yourself, it would have you question everything that you do and question other people, right? And their validity, their authenticity. So that's part of what's playing into this. And before I go on, speaking about authenticity, being yourself, if you don't trust yourself, you cannot trust somebody else. And if you don't trust yourself, it's going to be hard for you to attract somebody who will, number one, trust you, but also be trustworthy. And that's what we're going to be talking about. In a few weeks, we've got two things back to back coming up. So next week, if you haven't jumped into the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved Summit, the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved Summit is what we're doing next week. It is a conversation that we're having with some of the most powerful, influential, successful women who had some of these very same thoughts that you're having, those negative recurring thoughts, and worked through them, broke through them, and are now, not only are they super successful when it comes to their careers and their businesses, they also are very successful in their love lives. And we've been very selective about who we've been inviting to this conversation because, number one, we care about you. I already said that before. Number two, it's important for you to know that it doesn't matter where you came from. Where you came from doesn't determine where you end up. Where you end up is all 100% up to you. So breaking through these fears, being comfortable with being who you really are, and trusting, right? Because one of the questions was, what if I make a mistake, or what if this isn't real, right? All of that, those conversations get to be broken through so that you could be on the other side of it and attracting everything that you want instead of everything that you fear. Now let's start transitioning into dating, what this looks like in dating. Like I said, years and years ago, Michelle and I would first start with what's the fear that's driving you to want to do a background check, right? Um, to to see who this person is, and we still ask that question now because of everything that is happening. And we very much live in the same world that you live in. I often say we don't live in the land of rainbows, lollipops, and balloons and unicorns, because we are here on planet Earth with you, and we understand what um, what is happening in many cases in dating. Not in all cases, because we have lots of clients who we have many clients who have never been scammed. We have many clients who are very, very happily married to men that they met online. Now, if your brain just said, oh, does that mean there's something wrong with me? That's definitely something you want to come to our other event that I'll talk about a little later, which is the Be Beautifully You Challenge. But even at the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved, if you want to be a woman who's both highly successful in her career, in her profession, and the other things that are important to her, and in love, that question of what's wrong with me, or how come they can and I can't, right? Comparing yourself, comparison, syndrome, or the indecision, what people refer to as the analysis paralysis. You want to break through those things so that what you're experiencing when it comes to dating, especially dating, because that comes first, the dating process is fun, is freedom, is that you're feeling confident in yourself, including your ability to choose the right person, right? So I want to say that before I go into this next piece, because I know that I'm speaking to you and the voice in your head. We do tell ladies that if you feel you want to do a background check on someone, go ahead and do that. And when we work with our clients personally, especially our private clients, we do some of the work for them, where we do some of the background checks. But one of the things that you can do that's very easy is you can do a reverse photo. You can go and put one or many of the photos and see if the person is actually who they say they are. Now, because some scammers have gotten very savvy, they will have companies out there with that picture, with that name. There have been men who have, I was here in my city, a man was, he got a WhatsApp message from somebody. And so obviously this other person had his actual number, or she found his number. I don't know what happened. She was coming into his, because see, we would have never coached her that you're going into a city and you're asking him if you can come see him. We would have never coached a woman to do that. But anyway, she reached out to him. In this case, it ended up being to her favor. And she's like, hey, I'm going to be there. I was hoping maybe we can meet in person. And he's like, who is this? And she's like, what do you mean? She thinks he's kidding. What do you mean? We've been talking online for a year. And he's like, who is this? And now she's getting angry because she thinks like, oh, this guy's a player. He's pretending he doesn't know me. Well, it ends up that the man's image in AI video conversations was being used. And it was his face. And he's like, please set, once she finally realized like he wasn't being a jerk, pretending he didn't know her, he's like, can you send them to me? And it was him. And it was him. And he is a dentist and he does have a practice. And all of this is happening without him knowing, right? So why am I saying this? To instill more fear? No, it's because even when you're doing your due diligence, you want to have all of that background noise broken through, because if not, I promise you, everyone that you investigate or that you do a background check on is going to have something. They're going to have something, because there's a saying in Spanish that says you're going to find what you're looking for, right? So what you want to be looking for is just to know a little bit more about this person, not to find out that they're a scammer. You've got that energy. You're just going to be, that's what you're going to be attracting. It's absolutely 100% what you're going to be attracting, because you're attracting your fears and not your heart's desires. Okay. But you can do things to be smart. You can do those reverse photo analysis on Google. You can look up the person's background and then just see, is there a history that's longer than like a couple of years, a few years, right? If has this person existed for a long time? And then the number one thing you can do, which is what we always advocate, and those of you who are in the Harris Desire Sister Circle or in one of our programs, you're going to know, is take your time. I know you want to rush through things because you just want to get into that relationship that you want, whether you know that you're rushing subconsciously or subconsciously. Trying to rush things forward, move things forward faster without letting them unfold naturally, to just like play out naturally, is a fear driven instinct. Like it's a fear driven behavior. So you don't want to be driven by your fears. Do you see what the theme of today is, right? You're going to attract your fears. You're going to get one set of results. You're going to attract your desires. You're going to get a whole different set of results. You really do want to make sure that you are working through these fears ahead of time, and then that you're just taking your time to get to know the person. If it's forever, there's no rush. There's no reason to rush if it's going to be forever, right? So just take your time, and it's just a conversation. You're not investing a whole lot of attention and emotions and affection right up front, especially if you're dating more than one person. Okay, so these are all things that we teach as our dating fundamentals. So what if you're talking to someone, maybe you're just getting to know each other, you're in that process of getting to know each other, and the person's asking you questions like, so where do you live, do you rent or you own, where do you work, right, where do you go to the gym, where do you, and you might start be feeling like, I don't know this person well enough to be giving them personal information about myself. So you can tell them, I live in the blank area, right? You could say, I live in, you know, I tell people I live between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. That's the truth. And I don't have to tell them my actual city, right? So unless I know them, they don't need to know where I live. Where do you work? I work in a, and then say the kind of company. Oh, what's the name of the company? I'm not comfortable sharing that just yet. I take my time to get to know people. It's not personal. It's just what I do when I'm dating. Notice the words that I said. When you get the replay this, right? That's not something I feel comfortable sharing right at the beginning. It's not personal. This is what I do when I'm first getting to know someone, right? When I'm first dating someone, if you're, already on the phone or whatever, it's just something that I do. A man who is not insecure is going to hear that and go, wow, she's smart, right? She's just taking care of herself. He'll probably respect that. He doesn't have to take it personally if you actually do this with everybody. That's how you want to be telling the truth, right? You want to be in integrity, so you're attracting men who are in integrity. If they ask, what time do you get out of work? What time do you go to the gym? Most days I go after work. Oh, what time do you get out of work? Sometimes between 5 and 7, that kind of thing, right? Or usually it can be different every day, if that's the truth, right? So you want to be telling the truth. You don't want to be cryptic. This isn't about being mysterious. That's all drama. That's the drama diva, that I was going to say devil, that gets that gets ignited, because yes, some of you watching this, your life has been full of drama and trauma since the beginning. And so those peaks and valleys and the dramaticness of it all gets you a little excited, right? So I'm not talking about being dramatic. I'm talking about being authentic and real. So you can answer those questions and you can always feel comfortable. And if the person's like, wow, you just seem to be like so secretive, really, it's not about me being secretive. Like these are just my boundaries when I'm first getting to know someone. It's just so clear. Do y'all see that? Are you hearing? Like, if it's clear, put C, right? If you can hear the clarity, when you're being clear, that also helps your confidence, right? Because you're not trying to hide something, or you're not afraid they're going to find out something. You are answering the question clearly. This is why it's so important to learn how to date successfully. A lot of women are out there dating, and I heard another coach saying, I went on 98 dates, and I'm like, I would not wear that as a badge of honor. I went on 98 terrible dates. I mean, clearly she learned some lessons, and I'm so happy that she's now with her soulmate, but you don't have to go to night. You don't have to go on 98 terrible dates to learn what you can learn from us in like a month. I'm just saying. I am just saying, right? But I get it's part of her story, and it's part of like what attracts people. It's like, wow, she must know a lot by now. But you don't have to have terrible stories in order to attract the right person. You don't have to make 10 million mistakes in order, or kiss, what is that saying? Kiss 1,000 frogs before you kiss your prince. No, like, A, I hate frogs. B, why? Why? That's just suffering for no reason. Clarity in how you respond helps your confidence to go up. You're being so clear. There's nothing to worry about. What if I say this? What is it going to? I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. This is how I date. So you want to answer the questions without giving too much personal information. One of the things that people say, well, what about my phone? Like you can online. There are some sites. Usually you have to pay for the report, but there's ways to know where people live, where they mostly are based on their phone number. We recommend using Google numbers. Now, again, that's something that I can recommend because it's something that I've used and a lot of my clients have used. Please do not, again, put anything that I haven't vetted personally in the chat. But, again, I'm not being controlling. I don't know that I don't know those places. So I get to be responsible. All right. See how clear I'm being? Like I'm giving you I'm using the same language I'm telling you to use on a date. That's just the way it is here, right? We take these things seriously. We want to make sure our clients and our community members are safe. And so use Google. Google number still works. And what happens is when you get a Google number, it will ring on your phone and you'll be able to text. They're just texting another number. And then when they call you, it does say, if you don't pick up, it does say, or maybe even before you pick up, it says, please wait while we reach the Google number subscriber. That's it. They're going to know it's a Google number, but why would you hide that anyways? You might say, hey, why'd you give me a Google number? This is what I do when I'm dating. Like before I give somebody I don't give people my actual number until I've gotten to know them well enough. Oh, when is that? Once I know you well enough, right? So tell me something about yourself, right? As again, I'm not deflecting, I'm keeping it light. It's not dramatic, it's not secretive, right? It's just, this is how it is. Is it rude to not give somebody that information? No, it's not rude. It isn't rude. You're just being savvy. You're being smart, you're being savvy. Okay. So Nanny wants to know, what is the rule on physical intimacy? There is no rule. Number one, do you know this person well enough to let them inside your body? I know it's graphic, but do you know everything that you feel you need to know about this person? That's what we tell our clients. Usually, most of the women that we work with like to wait until they know that they are in at least an exclusive, if not a committed relationship. An exclusive relationship is where both of you agree, and he brings it up, that you're not gonna date anybody else. If you have to ask him, are we gonna date anybody else? You already know. I'm not gonna say you know the answer, but you know he didn't bring it up. That's you trying to move things forward. That's what I was talking about before. So he might be saying things like, I'm gonna take my profile off of the app. Now, if you've only had one date or a few conversations, you could say, oh, thanks for letting me know. And if he asks, are you going to do that? We would recommend that you say, no, I'm not going to take my profile off. Like I'm going to keep dating people until I meet the person that I choose to be in a committed relationship with. You're not ready. You just don't know a person well enough after just a few dates to know you don't want to date anybody else. And you certainly don't know them well enough to know that you want to let them inside of you, right? Inside of your home, inside of your bed, inside of your body. So take your time. Well, how would I know? Well, take your time. Until you know that you know, if you're asking yourself the question, how do I know? You don't know. You're not at the place where you feel like you know the person. And now going to the part about like trusting your intuition, right? Some people confuse their intuition with that chemistry, with the butterfly feeling, with the fireworks, or what else, sparks, whatever other analogy you want to use. And that chemistry, biology is not what intuition is. A lot of times when you feel chemistry or you feel instant connection with someone, it is simply because they remind you of someone else that you had that connection with. And if you're not still with that person, we know how that worked out. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about. Instinct is a knowingness, and there is peace around it. And there is like you trust yourself because you've taken the time to get to know the person, and you have not rushed through anything, and you haven't tried to force something to happen that isn't happening on its own, and it's evolving naturally. And there's enough information that you've gotten from conversations and getting to know each other and having public dates, not at his house, not at your house, enough public dates where you actually had conversations that now you're starting to see, this is probably somebody that I I could see myself in a relationship with. And then when he brings up being exclusive, at that point, you can choose, am I at the point where I am saying no to any other possibilities? Because that's what exclusivity means. And this is the only person I'm going to date. You do not have to do that until you are 100% sure, because you're literally closing the door on other possibilities. Okay. So that was the answer for how do you know that you're ready to be physically intimate. But it's the same thing. How do you know that you want to be exclusive with a person? Because like I said, most of our clients want to wait until they're in an exclusive or committed relationship before there's any type of physical intimacy. That's why we recommend that dates be public, so that you're not in a situation that feels tempting to allow it to get to a little further than you're actually emotionally and physically ready for. Oh, awesome. You're ready in VIP for the highly driven and deeply loved. Let me talk about that really quickly before I go to the next question. The highly driven and deeply loved, for those of you who joined a little bit later, it's a 1 day free, absolutely free event that we're having next Wednesday, July 16th. It's going to go from 11 a.m. to approximately 5:30 p.m. And then we have our VIP power hour after that to really have a deep dive, answer your personal questions like, how does this work for me? What do you think I should do about this? We're going to do that. So we're going to have conversations. I'll be speaking to different women, all different places of the world, all different kinds of businesses, and they're all highly successful. They're highly driven and deeply loved. They're in a happy, beautiful, monogamous relationship with a partner who really supports them, supports their dreams. He's a match for their dreams, their vision, their values, and their heart, right? So you really want to be part of that, because I'm telling you that those conversations, it's going to sound like two girlfriends talking to each other, but the gold that comes out of a woman, whether she met him online, she met him in person, she was introduced by her cousin, like, you're going to start to see how they went from not believing that it was possible to absolutely believing that it was possible for them. So I'm so excited about this. My team is supporting me in talking to the ladies. We just had somebody say yes today who is someone I haven't spoken to in years, but we were such good friends when we were in a mastermind together. And I just reached out to her yesterday. I'm like, look, I know it's going to feel like short notice, but we reached out to you. My team didn't hear back from you. I just saw the post that you did about you and your husband. I must talk to you. She was like, I'm in. I was like, will you come speak to our audience and share how you have this amazing, she teaches how to manifest incredible amounts of wealth, how money and love are one and the same. That's one of her things that she teaches. I'm like, you just have to come talk to my community. And she was like, I didn't even have to say anything. I said, it would just be so much fun. And she's like, I'm in. She didn't even have the date. She didn't have the time. She said, I'm in. I'm like, okay, well, let me just check with you. It's this day, this. And she's like, absolutely. I just let my assistant know. So these are the kind of women that they're like, some of them are personal friends, women that I share my heart with. We've had some of the most challenging times of our lives together and the happiest times of our lives together. I have another really good friend who just got married in April, and I was there standing for her and with her through the entire process for many years, where she questioned if it was possible for her. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy every single one of these interviews. And then, like Karen, you just want to go ahead and upgrade to VIP. The day is free. The VIP is like a tiny little investment, and it is where we actually coach you. You personally get coached inside this beautiful sacred space, and we help you to really not just embody, but apply what you have learned in your life. And then we're going to have one additional VIP session a couple of weeks after the event, so that you have time to practice. And then we're going to come together, and I'm going to do more coaching, because where life happens is out there in real life. So we want you to come to the event, get not just information, get the information that's going to help you create a transformation in your love life. Come to the VIP hour, so that now you're getting, how do I apply this in my actual circumstances, in the thing that's happening right now with me, online dating or in-person dating, or maybe you're already in a relationship and you want some coaching on how to how to deepen the love, the intimacy in the relationship, you want to 100% be here. And then I think it's 2 weeks later, we're going to have our second VIP session so that you have time to practice in your real life. And then we come together and I'll give you additional coaching. And we get to have celebrations of all the things that the women have created in those 2 weeks. Okay. So the link is in the chat and you want to 100% click on it right now. Go ahead, click on the chat. And then the second page will tell you about VIP. There's a bunch of bonuses. You already know you want to do it. So just go ahead and join VIP. All right. So here's another question. Is texting dating? To me, dating is meeting in person. So texting is like having conversations before actually meeting. I, as a high value woman, a woman who values myself, my safety, my worth, my time, I will not meet somebody if I haven't at least had some time texting with them and at least 2 conversations over the span of 2 weeks. And I know some people are going to say, oh my God, that's so much time. There is no rush if it's forever. Do you think, I want you to think who you think of as a high value woman? Like immediately in my head, Oprah comes to mind as a high value woman. Who else? I mean, a lot of the ladies that are going to be speaking on the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved, they come into mind. If you think about that woman, would she go out with somebody that she hasn't even had conversations with? I doubt it. I highly, deeply doubt it. Even if it was in the DMs and Instagram, there's some sort of conversation happening before you meet in person. That is just a safety thing. I don't meet a perfect stranger without getting to know them a little bit. And one thing that I'm finding, by the way, as a pattern is that men are, they're texting, you're connecting, right? And then they set the date and then you're not talking again until the day of the date, or the day before, to confirm, like, why are we not having conversations between? For me, I would wonder, right? So how do you say that without calling him or texting him? Say, I really look forward to talking with you again before we meet, right? I hope we get a few more chances to talk before we meet. I know that for me, that makes the date even more fun. Now I'm not telling him what to do. I'm telling him what I want. I'm telling him why I like it. And now a good man is going to say, oh, wow, I get 2 points, right? Because they're wanting to win at this game of winning your heart, right? So he gets 2 points if he reaches out to you before, not just to confirm the date, but to actually have conversations. Age differences, I don't have enough context about that. For me, I'm 4 years older than Rick. On the night we met, he asked me my age. I told him. I said, what about you? And he said he was 4 years younger. And I said, oh, okay. Hold on a second. I went to my best friend who was there, and she was like, I said, this guy's a kid. He's a kid. He's 24 years old. And she's like, get your bleep over there, because I haven't seen you smiling like that in over a year. My husband had passed away, and I stood up just a few hours before I met my now husband. I didn't know he was going to be my husband, but she's like, get your bleep over there, because I have not seen you smiling like that in over a year. Go. And thank God she said that, because here we are. By the way, next Wednesday, my husband will be joining me for Love Chat with the Love Twins, because Monday is our 25th wedding anniversary. And tomorrow is 26 years since the day that we met, that beautiful night I was just talking to you about. So this is our anniversary week. Tomorrow is our meet-iversary, 26 years. On Friday is our date-iversary and kiss-iversary. So our first date and our first kiss, 26 years. And this coming Monday is our anniversary, our wedding anniversary of 25 years. And we will be doing Love Chat with the Love Twins together next Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved Summit. So it's this, honestly, this is a week of miracle manifesting, not just for me, for you too. I'm telling you, when I tell you that you could be married to the man, that you could be with the man you're going to marry in December. I know it's July. I met Rick on July 9th. We got engaged on December 24th. We got married on July 14th of the next year. So I know that in 3 months, I know that in 3 days you can meet the man that you're going to marry. But trust me when I tell you, it can be this year. You don't have to keep for advertising it or pushing it out another year. You don't have to. The average woman who works with us meets the man that she marries within 3 to 6 months. Within 9 months, many of them are engaged, and most of them are married within a year. Some before, some a little after. Okay? So if that's what you want, make sure you come and join us for the Highly Driven and Deeply Loved Summit. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to enjoy it. We're making it free, so you have no excuse not to be there and be a VIP. You get all of the recordings. You get all of the extra bonuses that are on the VIP page. When you click on this link and you enter your information, you'll see the VIP page right after that. Super small investment. Why are we doing that? Because we don't want you to have another excuse to not do it, and because we choose to be generous, because we do. Okay, so let me see any other questions. I think I'm good on questions. Those of you watching the replay, or if you're on YouTube, put a question in the chat, the comments. We will be back to answer for you. Thank you all so much. I know I covered a lot. I feel like my tongue is like wagging. Before I end, what would be an unmistakable red flag if anytime you say any of the things that I said, the man makes you feel wrong, stupid, or like you shouldn't be honoring your boundaries? There's no need to you don't have to make him wrong. You don't have to give him a lecture. You're not his teacher for the next woman. You can just say, you know what? I don't feel this is a match. Or you could first say, this is simply my boundary. It really, honestly, it's not personal, but if he keeps pushing or trying to convince you or making you wrong or insulting you in any way, you know what? On second thought, this really isn't a match for me. So I wish you all the best on your love search. And you end the conversation, and you don't have to explain, and you don't have to lecture. The only things that are actual red flags are things that put you in danger emotionally or physically. Everything else is just a fear that you have. Everything is not a red flag. If you're walking around the world and this is all you see and it's all red, we gotta have a conversation so we can help you break through those fears, so you stop attracting what you're afraid of and you start attracting what you want. Okay? So I wanted to make sure I got that in before the very end of this love chat. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Bye for now.